Welcome to the Old Iron Liver channel. This is Bob, and been away for a few months. Finally back into the shop again. Do some pick up the work on some projects. Just so you know, where have I been? Been out on my son's ranch all summer, getting ready to do some construction work. We're doing some earthwork. I bought a backhoe so we could dig ditches and put in septic tanks and foundation, all that kind of stuff. We're pretty well along as far as the groundwork goes. We got the pad pretty well built for the building, and the steel building is on site. It's tarped, waiting for weather again, and I think the septic stuff is on site. I haven't seen that. So anyway, maybe we'll put together some video when we get enough to make a decent video out of what's going on out at the ranch. In the meantime, we're back. Where we left off last, I believe we were working on the Shop Tuneup series, and we had done a video or a couple of videos, I don't remember, on the surface grinder, and then we started in on the lathe, and that's where we're at now. The first part of the Lathe Tune-Up series is going to be on the drive end of the lathe, the motor and the spindle, the belts and all that. So what I started out with is the motor in it was not always starting, but throw the switch and it would just sit there and hum. And you give it a twirl, and if you did it 2 or 3 times, you'd eventually get it to go. I can think of several things that could be causing that. The one that jumped out at me was probably a stuck centrifugal switch. So the one that switches between the starting windings and the running windings. And I took the motor apart. It was a little bit of pitting, but it really wasn't sticking. I filed the points, and so I thought, well, it could be the capacitors in it, and or it could be something wrong in the windings. Well, I don't have a capacitance tester, and I don't have a megger to test the windings, so I really am at a point where I could go out and buy that stuff. It'd be kind of handy to have, but I very rarely troubleshoot electric motors. So it was a 1-horse motor, single phase, a 60-year-old motor. I kind of had a hankering to put a bigger motor in it anyway, so I kind of stopped diagnosing that motor and trying to do anything with it. I bought a brand new 3-phase, 1.5-horse motor for it, and that's where we kind of pick up the set of videos. Is we're going to start getting that motor mounted to the base plate, and then we're going to build a VFD cabinet for VFD to run convert from single phase to 3-phase. And the last piece of this whole first part of the lathe tune-up is going to be putting a serpentine or poly V belt in place of the canvas belt that was on it, giving it a little more traction. So the first video we're going to deal with mounting the motor, and hope you enjoy. Well, I think I showed you the motor that came out of my lathe. It was put in, the lathe was shipped with no motor, and after it got to either the dealership or when my mentor took it home, they put a Montgomery Ward's motor on it, and it's got 50 years on it. Anyway, the choice of motors has changed over the years quite a bit. I don't know which set of holes here was for the factory motor mounts and which ones were for the motor that was on it when I got it, or maybe there's been another motor in the in-between. Well, now there's going to be a third set of holes, because the new one is a 1.5-horse motor instead of a 1-horse. And what I did before I marked these holes out is I measured how far out the end of the shaft protruded from this edge of the casting. Now, recognizing I can slide the pulley in and out a little bit on the shaft and make it you know, fit the, you know, align with the other belt with the big pulley. Anyway, so those is fascinating YouTube material here. I'm going to drill 4 holes and tap them. While I'm talking about things, I got this the other day from James Dedman. Dedman, D-E-M-O-N. And he's got the Sawmill Plastic Hubs YouTube channel. And he'd make some interesting stuff. It works a lot in plastics. And anyway, these things work fine. They're basically kids' paint cups with a piece of PVC in there to, you know, make it into a spill-proof oil cup. But the thing I like about it, I haven't got any other cups like it, is it's clear, so I can see how much oil and or swarf is in there, and I know to fill it up again before I start something or stop and clean the swarf out. And they're real inexpensive to make. But anyway, I just shout out to Jim. Thank you, sir. Well, I like to talk while I'm drilling, I guess. One of the things I'm at to point out along the way here is when I go to reassemble this, my plan is to mount the motor to this because this is actually the underside. So this is the way it sits in there. And that motor hanging out from underneath it, which by the way is not real light, but it's a whole lot lighter than the first motor, probably half the weight. But all I have to do is get the shaft lined up and push it through, and then on one of the ears there's a set screw that holds the shaft in place. So a little tap basics for the new guys out there, but you can see on this tap that it's got a flute in there that's ground with an angle to it, and this is a gun tap, and it's designed to work on through holes, and it pushes the cuttings out ahead of the tap, so you know they don't gather up in between the flutes. And then you also have another kind of tap that the cutting flutes are at an angle. They spiral out, and as you turn, they pull the chips up out of the hole. So anyway, this is a gun tap, and I thought I'd set you up in a place where you could see it actually working. Okay, and I don't really need to show the other two holes. Okay, now just deburr the corners. okay on this side, but I'll do it anyway. Oops. Okay, this is ready to start bolting up. I got this Browning coupling set up in here to bore it out, and I'm using the coaxial gauge to test it, see that I'm dialed in. Turn it where you can see it, hopefully. Just a little bit. There we go. Well, I don't know if that's any good or not, but anyway. So let's get zeroed. Okay, let's swing it around and see how it looks. Within 1,000th or less. So let's get that out of here. Actually, let's do this first. Let's make sure we're also square at the other end of the bore. Let's jump. exactly 75.5 this way and this way both, so I think we're very close to what we need to be. Go ahead and pop it out of here. See how it fits on the shaft. Okay, this is my keyway brooch set, and the brooch I'm going to use is this one here. It's 3/16, and the guide I'm going to use is this one, and then we have the shims that go in the guide. I think that's all of them. Okay, anyway, so we'll head back over to the arbor press. Okay, we're lined up on the original keyway, and starting out with no shims in the machine. And we'll just go in. It gets about there and stops. So. Okay, the problem is the set doesn't have the right shim for the 3/16, so we kind of have to fake it. So I've got a sheet metal shim that somebody's made to go in there, and then I've got another shim to go behind it when we're ready to finish this off. So. We're 6/1000ths deeper than the other one was, so I think that should get us set up. Just shut you off and get ready to fit everything. Alright, we got the pulley mounted, and these little screws right here will pull the two pieces together and wedge it on tight. Don't want to tighten it up until I have it pretty close to where I want it belt alignment wise. So the rest of this will be done actually on the machine. I'm ready to prep the motor here for installation. And one of the things I wanted to do, it's a simple thing, but I want to, what you're seeing here, it's upside down. This is going to be on top, this is going to be on the bottom when I actually install it. And this will be toward the back where the wiring is going to go out of the little square leg, I guess you'd say, on the headstock end. Anyway, I've got a nice heavy cable here, 4-conductor, and when I put it in, I want to make sure it doesn't get pulled out, but I also don't want any wayward oil or cutting fluid or swarf or anything else getting inside this box if I can avoid it. So it came with plugs, so I plugged up to one side. And then I like to use these. They're called a cable gland. And basically they screw into the, in this case, a 3/4 inch knockout. And then all this goes over your cable, and when you tighten it down, it squeezes down on the cable to keep it from pulling out, but also keep anything from getting in. So anyway, we're going to put that in, and then we'll wire up the motor. And I've already pre-wired everything, and these three here get wired together and nothing else happens to them, and these three each get one leg of the power coming in. So let me get this piece tightened up. There's probably a more recommended way for taking the outer cover off these cables. I've been doing this way bulk of my life, actually. And I've got a pretty good feel for it. I can kind of pinch the outside without catching the wires inside. That's not to say I always get it right, but anyway, your mileage may vary, so take all that with a grain of salt. Okay, my Automagic wire strippers. Okay, put our little retaining nut over it. Okay, my cable was a little bit small for that rubber bushing, so I put a little tape on it. Rubber bushing fits pretty snugly now. Okay, and since the smaller crescent wrench doesn't fit, and the one in between is out in the truck, and I don't want to go all the way out in the rain and get it, I got one that'll fit. That's good and tight. Alright, this wire straightened down here. There's no particular order for these needed, it's 3-phase, so. Okay, and I'm going to put a little terminal on the ground. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Just not much machining content, but it is part of maintaining the machinery. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, please. And if you like the channel, how about subscribing? Always love to have more subscribers. And there's at least one more video in this series, and maybe two on the rest of the drivetrain for the lathe. So until we get to those, happy trails.